The sky trembles under the roar of 400 engines. Captain Jack Mercer grips the yoke, his gloves stiff with frost, eyes locked on the horizon where Berlin hides behind a wall of gray. The intercom crackles, static, breathing, fear. Below them, flak bursts like black blossoms, and every man inside the bomber feels the thunder in his ribs. They said the bombers couldn't reach Berlin. They said it was suicide, but orders are orders. And somewhere beyond that curtain of smoke, history waits. Sergeant Shorty Miller hums to calm his nerves. While the gunner whispers a prayer no one hears. Then, from the west, a flash of sunlight catches his eye. A formation of sleek silver fighters cuts through the clouds, Mustangs flying higher and faster than anyone believed possible. The crew erupts in disbelief and relief. "Who the hell are those angels?" Mercer mutters. The radio replies through static, calm and southern. "This is Tex. We'll take you home." And for the first time, hope feels real in a sky made of death. But Mercer can't help wondering. If angels come with guns, what kind of heaven are they leading us to? The sun dips behind a curtain of smoke as the bombers push deeper into enemy territory. Jack's hands ache from holding the yoke steady, and every few seconds the plane lurches under the punch of flak. Over the radio, Tech's voice breaks through again. Calm, almost casual, guiding them through the chaos like a shepherd over lost sheep. Below, the earth burns in patches, cities shrinking into shadows. Shorty hums the same tune he always does, the one his mother used to sing when thunder scared him. Jack wants to believe they'll make it back this time. But belief doesn't stop shrapnel, and courage doesn't refill oxygen tanks. Still, they fly. The radio bursts with static as German fighters appear, sleek silhouettes cutting through smoke. Mercer calls out headings, his voice steady but hollow. Machine guns roar, shaking the fuselage. Tech's squadron dives in from above, engines screaming, guns blazing. The air becomes chaos. Trails of smoke and fire crossing paths like wild brushstrokes of death. Jack can't see faces, only flashes of light and falling shadows. And yet, in the middle of it, something strange happens. He feels alive. A burst tears through the left wing and alarms scream. Shorty shouts coordinates. Jack steadies the plane. They're hit but still flying. The smell of fuel fills the cabin. "We are leaking, Captain," someone yells. Jack doesn't answer. His eyes are fixed on the horizon. The Mustangs circle overhead, keeping the wolves at bay. The sky looks endless, yet the distance home feels unreachable. As night falls, the flak fades. The bombers regroup. Fewer now. Silence settles like a blanket of ash. The men don't cheer. They just breathe. Tex's voice comes one last time over the radio. "Berlin's behind you, boy. Let's get home." Jack stares at the instruments, knowing not everyone made it. Above the whisper of engines, he thinks of the question that will haunt him for years. If they made it to Berlin, what part of them never came back? At 25,000 feet, the world turns silent and cruel. The heat from the engines can't fight the cold that creeps into bones and breath. Captain Jack Mercer stares through the frozen glass of his cockpit, the world below an ocean of gray and smoke. Oxygen masks hiss rhythmically. The only sound of life in a place where life doesn't belong. Sergeant Shorty Miller's fingers are numb as he steadies the bomb sight, whispering calculations with teeth chattering. Every second drags like a lifetime. The Mustangs are just specks now, fighting shadows in the distance. Jack wonders how anyone can feel so alone when surrounded by men. Then the flak starts again, black and merciless. A burst rocks the plane. The intercom screams static, and Jack's vision shakes with white light. He tastes blood. "Hold steady," he growls through gritted teeth. But even his voice sounds far away, like someone else speaking from another life. The gunner's scream cuts through the static. One of the German fighters just scored a hit. The waist gunner's station fills with smoke and freezing air. Shorty unbuckles and crawls through the narrow fuselage to help, his gloves slick with oil and blood. Jack yells for altitude, voice cracking, heart hammering so hard it hurts. Through the chaos, he sees Tex's Mustang streak past the window, guns blazing, his guardian angel still fighting in the storm. For a fleeting second, Jack believes they might just make it. Then another explosion rocks the bomber, and faith gives way to fury. The sky outside turns red from fire below. Flames from burning cities reflect off the underbellies of the bombers like a second sunrise, beautiful and horrifying. Inside, the temperature drops so low that metal bites through gloves. Shorty's voice cracks as he calls out the target coordinates. Jack steadies the bomber, muscles trembling from cold and fear. The bay doors open, and the world seems to pause. Somewhere down there, people look up at the sound of doom. The bombardier's voice is faint, bombs away. The release is silent, and yet it feels louder than any explosion. On the ground, Lieutenant Carl Richter scrambles back into the sky. His Messerschmitt engine howls as he dives through the smoke to intercept the fleeing bombers. Above him, the air is alive with chaos. Black contrails, burning wrecks, and the steady climb of the Mustangs holding the line. He spots one bomber trailing smoke, Jack's ship, and locks on. But when a Mustang cuts between them, he hesitates. Through the canopy, he sees Tech's eyes for a split second. Both men young, both killers, both exhausted by what this sky has made of them. Richter fires anyway. Jack's bomber limps through the freezing air. One engine dead, one coughing smoke. The crew is silent. The crew is silent. They've dropped their load, done their part, but the sky doesn't care. The return feels endless. Frost creeps across the glass like ghostly veins. In the gunner's seat, Shorty hums softly again. The same tune, slower now. Jack listens. For a moment, the song feels like warmth. Then Tech's voice cuts through the static. "You're not alone, Steel Angel. Keep her straight. We'll bring you home." And through the haze and pain, Jack smiles. Just barely. The morning sun bleeds through a thin curtain of clouds, and the bombers drift like ghosts. Jack's ship rattles, its engines coughing through the cold. The crew is silent, except for the hum of machinery and the low crackle of the radio. Suddenly, a desperate voice cuts through. Another bomber's crew calling for help. Their tail gone. German fighters circling like vultures. Jack's hand grips the mic, but before he can answer, streaks of silver flash across the sky. Mustangs, dozens of them, diving fast and hard, sunlight blazing off their wings. Tex leads the charge, his voice calm and steady. "Hold the line, boys. Nobody dies alone today." The sky erupts in thunder as they clash. Every trace of doubt and fear melts into awe. Jack watches, breathless, as the escorts carve through the enemy like lightning across a storm. Tech's Mustang streaks through the chaos, bullets tracing lines of light across his wings. He picks a target, a Messerschmitt climbing hard toward the bombers, and opens fire. The tracers cut through the air like angry comets. The enemy plane erupts in flame, spiraling down through the clouds. Tex exhales, not in triumph, but relief. There's no glory here, only survival. Over the radio, voices shout his name, call for help, scream coordinates. He can't save them all, but he tries anyway. Inside the bomber, Jack and his crew watch the impossible unfold. Mustangs dancing through the storm, weaving between flak bursts like angels made of steel. The men shout with new life, their fear drowned by adrenaline. Shorty grins for the first time in hours, his eyes bright beneath the frost. Jack doesn't smile. He just watches, silent, humbled. "They came for us," he whispers, as if the words themselves can't believe it. For the first time since the mission began, he feels something like faith. Tex spots Carl Richter's Messerschmitt circling high above, waiting for a clear strike. He climbs fast, heart pounding. The two pilots lock eyes across the vast emptiness, each knowing what comes next. Tex rolls left, Richter follows, and they spiral through the clouds like two hawks locked in death. Machine guns chatter, and sparks streak past. Tex feels a hit on his wing, but keeps climbing. Richter lines up one last shot, then hesitates. In that heartbeat of mercy, Tex fires. The Messerschmitt bursts into flame, diving toward the smoke below. Tech's hands tremble. He doesn't cheer. He just whispers, "I'm sorry." The radio falls quiet. The last German fighters turn away, their silhouettes vanishing into the horizon. The Mustangs reform, circling the bombers like sentinels. Jack exhales, shoulders sagging with exhaustion. Shorty slumps against the glass, half laughing, half crying. The sky is scarred but peaceful, the battle fading behind them. Over the intercom, Tech's voice crackles through again. "Steady, familiar. Berlin's fading, boys." "You made it." Jack nods slowly, eyes on the endless clouds ahead. The impossible mission just became history, and somewhere deep inside, he feels something heavy lift. The sky above Berlin is a furnace. Columns of smoke rise from the city, like black pillars scraping the heavens. Jack's bomber drifts through the haze, the smell of burning oil and metal seeping into every breath. Below, the world burns. Rooftops vanish under waves of flame. Streets glow red like veins of fire. Shorty stares down through the glass nose, frozen between duty and disbelief. "We did that," he murmurs, voice trembling. Jack doesn't answer. He knows what it means to win, but this doesn't feel like victory. Over the radio, Tex's voice is quiet now, softer, as if the air itself demands silence. "Let's bring our boys home." Jack looks at the smoke curling toward them and whispers, "And who brings them home?" Back in England, Major Evelyn Carter watches the mission markers blink on her radar screen. Each light represents a crew, a heartbeat, a life. Some fade, one by one. She marks them off, her pencil trembling. Around her, officers cheer the successful strike, but Evelyn doesn't join in. Her mind drifts to the men she briefed only hours ago. Faces full of hope and bravado, now swallowed by smoke over Berlin. She whispers the names she remembers, one by one under her breath, as if each syllable could keep them alive a little longer. The bombers turn toward home, leaving Berlin beneath a rising storm of flame. Inside the Steel Angel, the crew is silent. The vibration of the engines feels heavier now, like the plane carries ghosts. Jack keeps his gaze forward, but his thoughts drift backward, to the faces of those in the city, to the enemy pilots who fought just as hard for their skies. War feels endless, a circle drawn in smoke and blood. Tech's voice comes through faintly, "You still with me, Steel Angel?" Jack nods, though no one can see. "Still here, Tex," he answers, still flying. In the thin air above the retreating bombers, Tex flies alone for a while, letting the radio fall quiet. He stares at the horizon where the smoke fades into pale light. Every kill, every dive, every flash of fire replays in his head. He tells himself it was necessary, that this is what victory costs. But somewhere deep down, he wonders if there will ever be a day when silence feels clean again. His plane hums steady beneath him, but inside, nothing feels steady anymore. Jack's crew finally sees the North Sea below. Endless gray, calm after chaos. The mission is almost over, yet no one speaks. The bomb bay doors creak shut, echoing through the empty cabin. Shorty leans against the window, watching the ocean shimmer beneath them. "Feels wrong to come back alive," he says softly. Jack nods, unable to find words. In the distance, Tex's Mustang dips its wings in salute before peeling off toward base. Jack watches until it disappears into the pale horizon. In that fading moment, the war feels smaller, not gone. just quiet enough to breathe. The engines groan like tired hearts. The sky ahead is calm, but no one trusts calm anymore. Jack sits in silence, eyes flicking from one gauge to another, listening for anything that sounds wrong. Shorty hums again, his voice hoarse and cracked from the cold. Behind them, the crew moves slowly, checking for leaks, for holes, for something to fix, because fixing keeps them from thinking. The radio spits static and ghost voices of other squadrons trying to find their way back. Somewhere out there, somewhere still falling, still burning. Tex's voice cuts through faintly, softer now. Keep steady, boys. Just a little longer. And Jack whispers back, almost home. The words feel fragile, like glass that could shatter with one more hit. They cross the sea in silence. Below, the water glitters like a mirror to everything they've lost. Shorty finally speaks, breaking the long hush. Do you ever wonder what we look like from down there? Jack doesn't answer right away. He watches the clouds drift like smoke trails, feels the vibration of the dying engines, and thinks of the people below. German, British, friend, foe, all staring at the same sky. Probably like stars, he finally says, that fall instead of shine. Shorty chuckles softly, but it fades fast. The sound of the engines takes over again, steady, stubborn, alive. Tech's fuel gauge dips dangerously low. He glances at it, then at the bombers ahead, wounded birds crawling home through the cold. He could turn back, save himself some risk, but he doesn't. He stays close, circling them like a shepherd refusing to leave his flock. The radio hums quietly, and he hears Jack's weary voice. "We see you, Tex." Tex smiles faintly beneath his oxygen mask. "Good. Means you're not lost yet." He taps the dashboard once, like a small prayer to the machine keeping him alive. England finally appears, a faint green line on the horizon. The sight feels unreal, like a memory pretending to be real again. The radio bursts with chatter. Tower calls, landing orders, static, laughter, sobs. Jack's crew cheers weakly, but no one smiles for long. Too many voices are missing. Jack lowers the bomber slowly, fighting the wind with trembling hands. The landing gear creaks, and the wheels touch down with a scream of metal. For a second, everything shakes, then stops. Silence. The kind that means you're alive. Tex lands last. His Mustang rolls to a stop beside the line of returning bombers. The airfield is crowded with silence, the kind only survivors understand. Jack climbs down from the Steel Angel, boots hitting the dirt like the final beat of a long drum. He looks across the runway and sees Tex walking toward him. No words pass between them. They just nod. The kind of nod that says everything, grief, and something close to pride. Above them, contrails still fade across the empty blue sky. The ghosts of the morning's battle already dissolving into light. Night settles over the base like a heavy blanket. The hangars glow faintly under lantern light, the air thick with oil, smoke, and the quiet ache of survival. Jack sits on an empty crate beside the Steel Angel, his hands trembling as he wraps a bandage around his arm. The bomber looms behind him, scarred and silent, a monument of metal and memory. Shorty limps past with a mug of weak coffee, forcing a crooked grin. Still think they said we couldn't reach Berlin? Jack chuckles dryly, but it sounds hollow. Across the runway, the medics carry stretchers from other planes, faces covered, names already fading. Jack lowers his head, whispering, "We reached it. Just not all of us came back." Tex leans against his Mustang, the metal still warm from flight. His helmet dangles from one hand, the other clutching a small silver cross hanging from his neck. The air smells of fuel and wet earth. A mechanic walks by, salutes quietly, and keeps going. Tex stares at the horizon, where faint streaks of dawn begin to glow. He's seen too many mornings like this, too many that don't feel like victory. He whispers to no one. For everyone we bring home, another never will. The words drift away, swallowed by the wind, and the distant hum of engines cooling. In the operations room, Major Evelyn Carter writes her report. Her pen scratches against paper, but the words feel meaningless. Numbers, aircraft lost, targets hit. She pauses, looking at the casualty list beside her. The silence between each name feels louder than the bombs ever did. For a moment, she closes her eyes and sees their faces again. Jack's confident grin, Shorty's nervous laugh, Tech's calm drawl. She wipes her eyes quickly before anyone sees. The commander congratulates her team, but she doesn't look up. She just whispers, "No one wins a sky like that." Shorty walks past the row of grounded bombers, each one scarred like soldiers after battle. He stops beside the Steel Angel, his hand resting on the cold metal. The morning fog curls around him, soft and ghostly. He thinks about all the voices that once filled the plane. Laughter, curses, prayers. Now it's just wind whistling through bullet holes. He whispers softly, "We made it, boys." For a heartbeat, he almost hears them answer. Later that night, Jack and Tex sit on the edge of the runway, sharing a cigarette in silence. The stars above are sharp and endless, like cold memories frozen in the dark. Neither man speaks for a long time. Finally, Jack says, "I used to think the sky was beautiful." Tex exhales smoke, watching it twist upward. "It still is," he says quietly. "Just depends what you see in it." Jack nods, eyes distant. The engines from the hangar hum faintly, the sound of tomorrow's war already warming up. He looks at Tex and asks, "When it's over, what will we be without it?" Tex flicks the cigarette away. "Alive," he says, though it doesn't sound like an answer. Years pass, but the sky never really lets go. Jack stands on a quiet airfield long after the war has ended. The hangars are empty now, the runways cracked and overgrown with grass. The Steel Angel was scrapped years ago, melted down into silence. He runs a hand along the rusted railing of the old control tower, remembering the roar of engines that once filled this place. Somewhere far away, a single plane hums faintly, a sound that stirs ghosts. Jack closes his eyes and hears it all again. Tech's calm voice, Shorty's laugh, the thunder over Berlin. The world has moved on, but part of him never did. He looks up to the open blue sky and whispers, "We made it home." Tech's Mustang sits in a museum now, polished and perfect, wings gleaming under soft lights. Visitors walk by, whispering about courage, about heroes. A small plaque carries his name, Lieutenant Ben Tex Holloway, 25. No one knows how he looked that last day. Smoke rising over the channel, his radio fading mid-sentence. They call him a legend, but to Jack, he was just a man who stayed when he could turn back. Sometimes, Jack visits the museum, stands before the plane and speaks softly. "You said we'd make it home. You were right. Just not all of us." Shorty runs a small mechanic shop now, fixing engines that no longer roar for war. Grease covers his hands instead of blood. Sometimes, when the radio plays a slow tune, he stops and stares out the window, lost in a sky only he can see. The hum of motors still comforts him. It's the same heartbeat he once heard above the clouds. His daughter once asked why he smiles when thunder rolls. He told her, "It's just the boys saying hello." Major Evelyn Carter sits alone in her small home office, papers stacked neatly beside an untouched typewriter. Outside her window, children play, their laughter cutting through the quiet. She watches them with a soft smile. She still keeps every mission report. Hundreds of pages filled with codes, names, and numbers that once decided life and death. Sometimes she reads them at night, tracing each name with her finger. The world remembers the victory, but she remembers the cost. "Every war ends," she whispers, but some sounds never stop echoing. At a small memorial near the old airbase, Jack stands before a stone engraved with names. Wind rustles the grass, carrying the distant hum of a passing plane. He traces the carved letters. Tex Holloway, Paul Miller, Evelyn Carter. names that once meant laughter, voices, life. Around him, the world is quiet, peaceful, free. He looks up to the vast blue sky, the same sky that once burned with war, and for the first time in years it looks beautiful again. His voice breaks as he whispers, "They said our bombers couldn't reach Berlin. But we did, because you were there." He steps back, hand over his heart, as a flight of modern jets streaks overhead, contrails painting white lines like ghosts of the past.